Profile murder trial in California, where a woman is accused of stabbing her Navy doctor husband to death. On Tuesday, she took the stand in her own defense. NBC's Aditi Roy is in San Diego with details. Aditi, good morning.
Good morning, Ann. Jennifer Trayers admits that she stabbed her husband 10 times back in December of 2010. Now a jury must decide whether it was a crime of passion or premeditated murder. 43-year-old Jennifer Trayers says her mind was full of rage when she plunged a knife into her husband's heart and lungs.
And when you stabbed him, what were you thinking?
I was just so angry and mad, and I didn't know what was going on.
On the stand Tuesday, Trayers admitted to stabbing her husband 8 more times in the back, killing 41-year-old Lieutenant Commander Fred Trayers.
Did you aim for the back of his neck or head, or did that just happen?
It was the first place I saw skin.
Trayers says she was in a suicidal frenzy after learning of her husband's affair with a fellow Navy doctor, Danielle Robbins, who testified against Trayers last week. Trayers said she meant to kill herself with a butcher knife, but turned her husband's own military-style knife back on him when he offered to give her something sharper.
Did it seem like he was trying to stab you?
I thought so.
And why did you think so?
Because he said the words, "Let me help you."
Prosecutors say the day before the stabbing, Trayers sent her husband's mistress an email. Trayers addressed it to "Dear little Miss Grass is not greener on my side," and wrote, "I got to hear him say I love you softly in my ear while he's hugging me. I was the last person he was with." She signed it, Mrs. Wonderful. During cross-examination, prosecutors suggested that email was proof that Trayers was planning to kill her husband.
You plunged that knife in to his chest, 2.5 to 3.5 inches. You intended to do that, didn't you?
No.
You stabbed him 8 times in the back. You intended to do that, didn't you?
No.
But you did it, Mrs. Trayers, didn't you?
Yes.
Trayers' attorney knew it would be a tough day on the stand for his client, but felt it was important for her to make her case to the jury.
She's been dreading this day for a long time because she doesn't want to relive what happened that day.
Closing arguments begin today. If she's found guilty, Trayers faces between 26.5 years to life in prison. Ann?
All right, Aditi Roy, thank you so much. Star Jones is a former prosecutor and veteran legal commentator, and Savannah Guthrie is today's legal correspondent. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
All right, so Jennifer Trayers took the stand to testify in what's called a heat of passion defense. Now, exactly what is that?
When anger, fear, terror, rage just overtakes a person when met with adequate provocation, that they are unable to act in a reasonable way, and they basically go off the ranch.
All right.
That's what this is.
So that brought her then to the stand. So was it effective? I mean, should she have taken the stand?
Well, one note about a heat of passion defense, it doesn't mean she's asking for an acquittal. I mean, even her attorney knows that she will ultimately go to jail most likely. All it does is reduce the charge from murder to voluntary manslaughter. So what she's saying is, look, I was so overcome with this intense emotion that I wasn't in charge of my own faculties. The classic heat of passion case you learn about in law school is a man comes home, finds his wife in bed with another man, pulls out a gun and shoots him. That's the classic case. We don't have exactly the classic case.
So what do you
here.
think? Do you think it helped her or hurt her to be on the stand?
She had no choice. The only person who could really make out that level of rage and fear and anger, what would provoke a normal, rational person to do something so horrific as multiply stab their husband, you've got to convey that to the jury. And that's what the whole attempt from the defense was in this case.
But the prosecution has come back and said, wait a minute, this is not something where she was suddenly overcome. She knew about this affair for months. They say she basically waited for the prime opportunity to attack him, having waited until he took a sleeping pill and was asleep. So they say that's evidence of premeditation.
But what about this testimony that, if I have this right, that she pulled out a knife to kill herself? That in fact he said something that turned her anger onto him.
Well, the argument is he was basically baiting her. She pulls out a knife and he basically goes to her, well, I can give you something a little sharper if it's really going to do it. And so in theory, it's a little back and forth. The argument is that the defendant was just so at a point where she could not think for herself, and that he pushed her over the edge.
So it sounds like it really all comes down to her credibility, whether the jury believes her.
If the jury does not want to convict a woman who, has been beat up emotionally by a man, to see a beautiful woman who is the other woman come in, if there was some taunting going on, the jury could would go for the defendant, especially since she's not asking to just walk out, as
It's
Savannah
a complicated case. This is a one-witness case. I think the whole thing rises and falls on whether or not the jurors believe her account of events, whether or not they like her. And there have been a lot of facts in this trial on both sides, including the fact that she herself was having an affair. So this is a...
What? Oh,
That's
okay, I
right.
didn't even know that part.
Yes.
Oh.
So,
but she backed off on it. You know, listen, this is Young and the Restless all over the place.
all of this is to say that the jurors have a difficult task before them.
On that note,